Humanity's awakening will have a lot to do with the Sacred Ma and our connection with her. Come along with me on this remarkable and enlightening journey of remembrance. It is our Sacred Ma who provides for us and sustains us, and it will be by her that we will, once again, remember who we truly are. Hello viewers, this is Adrienne Daniels, a Flower of Life coach, here bringing you information from our Sacred Ma. Welcome to the Mother Channel, Mama Anka. It is extremely important that as we, the indigenous people, awaken to who we truly are, we must not forget our connection with our mother. We can't fully awaken until we've acknowledged this. When we continue to omit our mother as the center of the plight of the indigenous people here on Turtle Island and elsewhere, we continue the same destructive, dominating behavior upon her that has caused us to forget. Men, you have not been put on this earth to rule over her. That is a Christianity mindset that will not serve you in the end. Women, you have not been put on this earth to be a helpmeet in dominating her. She is the mother of all that is alive upon and within her. Domination of anything or anyone is a separatist mindset. A separatist mindset is the belief that you are separate from the whole, which causes one to act without consideration of the well-being of all other organisms. There is not one individual who is separate from our earth and others, regardless of your origin upon it. The autonomous people of the Sacred Ma must reclaim their natural place as her children. And to do so, we must honor her as we would our very own mothers. This is the way of the natural woman and man. This is the way of our people. To understand the way of our people, let's get a better understanding of how the microcosm is always a reflection of the macrocosm. Macrocosm, the great world or universe, the universe considered as a whole. The total or entire complex structure of something, like the macrocosm of war. A representation of a smaller unit or entity by a larger one, presumably of a similar structure. Microcosm, a little world, a world in miniature. Anything that is regarded as a world in miniature. Human beings, humanity, society, or the like, viewed as an epitome or miniature of the world or universe. Here we will begin with the macrocosm as our earth. She is the giver and nurturer of all life. She is the larger organism or body which houses the smaller organisms or bodies. When she is honored and allowed the freedom to thrive, she provides for us in abundance. There is nothing we cannot ask of her and not receive. This act of reciprocity allows for this same continual eternal cycle to be passed on through her extensions, creating the much desired and sought after expansion of heaven here on earth. But her very body is consistently bombarded with toxins, raped of her precious gems and stripped of her own rights to self-governance. Her well-being is of no concern to others. She is degraded, demeaned, and disgraced. Does any of these things at all sound familiar? Why have human beings become so comfortable with dominating the earth instead of living peaceably with her? Why do we find the destruction of the very organism that we call our home an agreeable way of interacting? Stick around and let's uncover these hidden truths together. Before we move deeper into understanding who, why, and how the matriarch had been replaced by today's patriarchal concept, I want to share something with you to try and give you, my viewers, something a little more visual so that I can help you to see more clearly the information that I will attempt to relay here. Okay. I hope that you can get a clear view of this book. This is a very old King James Bible. You see that there? I'm just going to turn it around so you can kind of get an idea of how old this book is. Very old and very worn. Very old and very worn. Okay, and they don't make Bibles like this anymore. In fact, they really don't. In fact, they have so many different versions out there today, such as the American Standard Version. You have the Common English Bible, English Standard Version. Let me think. The Good News Translation, the Jubilee Bible 2000, the Message Bible, the New Revised Standard Bible, the New King James Version Bible. The list goes on and on and on. At one time, I do believe they even had the Ronald Reagan Bible. I remember seeing the Ronald Reagan Version Bible in a bookstore years ago, and I often wondered, when I saw that then, I wondered, how does an ordinary man get a Bible named after him? I know that he was the President of the United States at one time, but, come on. Really, but now I get it, The United States, the UK, and Russia have all invested heavily in this patriarchal concept of Christianity, which instills in the masses a world belief of a male deity who has given dominion and power to his male counterparts, men, to rule over the earth and its inhabitants. But before I get into the contents of this book here, let me show you something. Okay, so according to this blog called the Manifold Greatness blog, and of course it would be a sister promoting this nonsense, don't you find it interesting that it's women who are more invested in this patriarchal concept than men? The same is true of people of color. People of color become more invested in concepts that are meant for their harm than those it's not. I just find it fascinating. But anyway, let me try to increase this here. Let me zoom this, make this a little bigger so that you guys can see it. All right, so but anyway, according to this blog, it has been tradition since George Washington that all presidents of these United States be sworn in on the King James Bible. But during both of Ronald Reagan's inauguration, it was noted that he used, and I'm going to try to find it here to highlight it. It was noted that he used right here a relatively slender, much worn copy. It is known today as the Wilson Bible, after the maiden name of his mother, Nell Wilson Reagan. So, okay, now I don't find it unusual that Ronald Reagan version Bible exists, because there's a Wilson Bible named after the maiden name of his mother. So according to this blog, it was thought that Ronald Wilson Reagan, the 41st president, I do believe he was the 41st president, was sworn into office using a family Bible instead of the traditional King James Version. So there was a little, kind of like a discrepancy here, that they thought that he was using that family Bible instead of the traditional King James Version. But as it further states, let me highlight this also. So as it further states, to make sure it was a King James Bible rather than another English Bible translation, we checked with the curators at the Reagan Presidential Library. We were delighted when they quickly emailed us a scan of the title page, which confirms its use of the text of the Authorized Version, another term for the King James Bible, and provides other interesting details as well. So, okay, they were satisfied by just receiving a scan of the title page and nothing of the contents inside. All right, well, but still I digress, because even the contents inside is all a big joke, and this is what I'm about to show you. Okay, now back to this very old Bible that I have in my hands. As you can see, it's not in the best condition. I mean, it's extremely old. The first print of this particular King James Bible was in 1926, I believe. Let me bring it up a little closer, see if you can see that. 1926, you see that? And the last print of this Bible was in 1941. So this particular book that I have in my hand here was printed in 1941. That means that this Bible here is 77 years old. It is very old, and it's a relic. Okay? The pages are subject to ripping very easily, of course. And this Bible here was my granddad's Bible. And due to its being his is my only reason I handle this book with care. For sentimental reasons only, nothing more than that. If it wasn't for this attachment, its worth would be really absolutely nothing to me. But I will say this, that as I study the pages in this book, the hidden contextual meaning has become very valuable to me. That is, since I've become quite discerning on how to read between the passages, so to speak. So, if you will just give me a few moments of your time, I would like to share with you a few things in this Bible. Let's find it. Now here is a little cutesy poem. Again, I hope that you can see. And I'm just going to read it. It says, "This book unfolds Jehovah's mind. This book salutes in accents kind. This friend will all our needs supply. This fountain sends forth streams of joy." Okay, so not all of it rhymes. I guess it's one of those free verse poems. Moving on. The mind affords us boundless wealth. This good physician gives us health. This sun renews and warms the soul. This sword both wounds and makes us whole. This letter shows our sins forgiven. This guide conducts us safe to heaven. This charter has been sealed with blood. This volume is the Word of God. Okay? So, well, I'm sorry. I can't accept this being the Word of God just because it's stated here that it is. But millions upon millions of people have accepted this volume being the Word of God simply from just being told that it is. And it's all about the concept, and I'll get more in depth in my other videos about the world is but a concept. Change the concept, you change the world. And I'm kind of curious as to why certain words in this poem are capitalized and underlined, like book, friend, fountain, mine, good, physician, sun, sword, letter, guide, charter, and volume. I don't have any idea as to why, but it just stands out to me. And maybe there's something here, maybe there isn't. Maybe you can figure it out and let me know. Now, this next page continues on to explain the integrity, authenticity, and history of the English Bible. As Christians, we firmly believe in the divine inspiration, integrity, and authenticity of the Holy Scriptures. We believe that the original manuscripts were given through special revelations from God to the consecrated men who wrote them, and that the divine providence has so guided the entire process of transcription and translation that the original sense of the revelations has been faithfully preserved. The original manuscripts of the Old Testament were written by the hand over a period of some 15 centuries, passing through the hands of many devout copyists and translators. The New Testament has also reached us by an indirect route, being handed down through nearly 19 centuries of painstaking transmission. Okay, now, there are so many things that are wrong with these first two paragraphs that it is amazingly preposterous that this religion, Christianity, was even adopted as a lifestyle of obedience to this God that still to this very day is believed to be a man who reigns supreme over all of creation. Now look, I'm not saying that there is not a higher power, but what I am saying is that this higher power is not a man. And oops, so-called black man, this higher power is not a black man either. To continue to believe that it is just exchanging one set of nonsensical beliefs with another set of nonsensical beliefs. It's all nonsense. Am I saying that this higher power is a woman? No. But what I am saying is no one has ever seen this sky god, and yet we have this massive following of this God who has been said to have given power over into the hands of a certain faction to rule and govern, even if it means declaring war on those who do not wish to submit. And this God hates women too. So when you've conquered the lands of the heathen, so to speak, you can rape the women and sell them off as chattel. Women, is this a God you wish to serve? I mean, really. But here we see, interact, and walk every day upon this remarkable earth, which is feminine in nature, and give no regard to her. Here this earth is patient, kind, nurturing, and giving, yet we are taught at a very young age that she is to be dominated and controlled. Why is that? Before I go in depth about why the woman or the divine feminine energy have been purposely stripped away from this world concept, let's first go back over the first two paragraphs that I've just read. As Christians, we firmly believe in the divine inspiration, integrity, and authenticity of the Holy Scriptures. Here I've highlighted the word believe, which indicates they do not know in the divine inspiration, integrity, and authenticity of the Holy Scriptures. It is only a belief, yet many have been killed in the name of these very Holy Scriptures. We believe that the original manuscripts were given through special revelations from God to the consecrated men who wrote them. Again, the word believe is highlighted, indicating that they do not know that the original manuscripts were given through special revelations from God to the consecrated men who wrote them. The words consecrated men and wrote them are also highlighted because I want to expound on these words just a little for us to get a better understanding of what is being presented here. Consecrate. A verb, a late 14th century word. So we're talking about the late 1300s here. The word means to make or declare sacred by certain ceremonies or rites. It's from the Latin consecratus, past participle of consecrare or consecrare, to make holy, devote. So these consecrated men were men who were declared sacred by ceremonial rites and who devoted their lives to the writings of these scriptures. Wrote them. Them meaning these scriptures. Well, that doesn't mean anything, you may say, because these men were chosen by God to receive these sacred texts. So God consecrated these men, but it doesn't say that. Remember that they believe that the original manuscripts were given by God. They don't know. And also remember that in order to be consecrated, one must undergo a ceremonial rite in order to be declared holy or devoted. So this is done on a human level, not a God level. And remember that this is all a concept too. Everything is a concept. Even this deity we call God is a concept. This is all staged, people. Those who gain control of the concept gains control of the minds. Then as this control is placed on a worldwide scale, as in the indoctrination within our churches, educational systems, historical figures, museums, the arts, now music, they became capable of making us all believe anything they wanted, including all of us, the indigenous people of where we all came from, and the indigenous woman of her sacred place here on earth. Just as most of these men today who have the power to shape the future are Freemasons, Johannes Gutenberg, designer and inventor of the Gutenberg press in the mid to late 1400s, was a Freemason too, put in place to gain control of the minds. Nostradamus too was a Freemason who was handpicked to play a role in the development of this patriarchal concept by spouting off amazingly and on the mark prophetic future events. But were they really amazing? If you have the blueprint for the future and the means to mold the minds of the people to carry out the said prophesied events for generations to come, then why wouldn't it appear to be amazingly accurate predictions? Here I wish to share my interpretation of a portion of a letter that I found to explain the strong connection between the Freemasons and the King James Version Bible. Again, this is my interpretation of what I've read of this letter. However, I will leave a link in the description box below to the original letter so that you can read its entirety and reach your own interpretation of its contents. I don't know the date of this letter, but this letter was written and presented to a Masonic Order Lodge member, to the Masonic Order Lodge members in South New Wales and Victoria, Australia. And the reason why I wrote my interpretation of the letter was due to copyright reasons. So that's why I encourage you to follow the link below so that you can read its contents in its entirety. Worship, O Master. Yes, that's how they begin it. I thank you all for inviting me today to speak to the Brotherhood of this lodge. Like everyone in the Brotherhood, I was programmed to strongly believe in the King James Version Bible. This version is why I am here to speak. The story is long, so I will keep it short. The King James Bible is always used as the volume of the sacred law in all our Masonic orders, and it is the volume of which we all take our sacred oaths upon. There is freedom in our order to use various sacred books, such as if there is a member of the Islamic faith, then he can be sworn in by using the Quran. If a member is of the Jewish faith, then he can be sworn in by using the Old Testament of the King James Version. Rule is, the book that our brother wishes to be sworn in on must be sacred to him. And remember, no atheist can ever become a member of the Masonic Order. If you are a man and a follower of the faith of these three main religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, you can seal your oaths by using either the King James Version Bible, the Quran, or the Old Testament of the Bible. Now keep in mind that Islam is supposed to be the enemy of Christianity and Judaism. And yet you can join under the Brotherhood regardless of you being a Muslim. It's all a farce. They want us all to believe that these religions are separate of one another, but they're all one and the same, a patriarchal system. I also found it quite interesting that no atheists can become Freemasons. Remember, God is a concept. And if atheists will not submit to the concept of their God, then he can't join their club. Atheists are too inquisitive. And an atheist would definitely reveal all of their nonsensical secrets. They would question everything. That's why an atheist can't join. There's so much more to this letter. So that's why I encourage you to read it. Now let's pull the last two paragraphs that we had back up onto the screen. And that the divine providence has so guided the entire process of transcription and translation that the original sense of the revelations has been faithfully preserved. Now, divine providence I have highlighted. So let's look that word up. Divine, adjective, a late 14th century word pertaining to, of the nature of, or proceeding from God or a God, addressed to God. From the Latin divinus, of a God, of or belonging to a God, inspired, prophetic. Providence, a noun, also a late 14th century word, meaning foresight, prudent, anticipation, from the Latin word providentia, also meaning foresight, precaution, foreknowledge, prepare, act with foresight. From just these two definitions, we are being shown a lot of what's really being said in this sentence. The word divine, we'll just sum that up to mean relating to a God. And the word providence, we'll sum that up to mean foresight. So what's being said here in this sentence is that a God's foresight has so guided the entire process of transcription and translation that the original sense of the revelations has been faithfully preserved. So the transcribers or writers of the Bible are attempting to assure to us that this concept they call God and his foreknowledge or ability to look ahead and see all things has surely guided the entire process of the hands of the transcribers and translators of the scriptures from its original text to its present, and that all meaning of the words in the Bible have been preserved. Nothing at all has been lost. The second paragraph goes on to state, the original manuscripts of the Old Testament were written by hand over a period of some 15 centuries, passing through the hands of many devout copyists and translators. The New Testament has also reached us by an indirect route, being handed down through nearly 19 centuries of painstaking transmission. Now, if I were to write a letter that contained a certain knowledge that would possibly be of some value for all of humanity, and years later it was found, unearthed, stolen, whatever you want to call it, who's to say that the letter will stay intact? Depending on the motive behind the possessor, you would never really know the true contents of that letter, right? Especially if the original letter is kept locked away, hidden from the masses. My point is, whether intentionally or not, over time, the letter's contents will eventually be lost in translation, especially over a time period of 1,000 years or more. Okay, so now, without further delay, I would like to share with you my proof as to why this religion, Christianity, along with the two other main religions, Islam and Judaism, are the rise and soon to be the fall of their systemic patriarchal world order. It's because in this 77-year-old Bible, they reveal that to us. Get a real good look. Okay, you see that? Okay, I'm hoping that you can see everything. I'm just gonna raise it up to the end here. All right. And then I'm going to raise it back down so that you can just get an idea of what's being written. There's a timeline here, and they tell you right there the time of the patriarchs. This was their time. Okay? So you're not going to find this evidence in today's Bibles. All right, maybe they intentionally placed this here, or maybe they didn't. Besides, what better way to hide things but in plain sight? And this I do believe, that you will not find this blatant evidence of intent anywhere else in their religious construct accessible to people like us. You will not. And I honestly do believe that the establishment of the patriarchal system was well underway at the fall of Atlantis, and it came to be sealed in on a worldwide scale with these three main religions. And yes, we've been led to believe that Atlantis was a place of mythology, but please understand that a lot of these so-called myths derived from a great deal of truths. You just have to become discerning and learn how to feel your way through the concepts. Okay. So if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell to be notified of future videos. And please stay tuned for more videos on information from our Sacred AMMA and how and why we so desperately need to connect back with her, and why we, the indigenous people, not only here on Turtle Island, but the indigenous people throughout the entire planet as well, need to denounce Christianity, Islam, and this Christianized version of our Hebrew heritage that so many have latched onto, and begin honoring our sacred mother and our ancestors the way our ancestors did in the past. Honoring the earth and our ancestors is vital. By doing so through the blood of our ancestors and the connection of our land, together we will gain the blessed power of 1,000 tornadoes. Our ancestors are waiting.